What's good? What's good, everybody? Another live for Fayettenam. I'm the one and only Paul Masson. It's a hot Thursday night in the Ville, and we about to get right to it. Our guest just popped up on the screen. To be honest with you, oh yeah, before we bring him on, don't forget we're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Audio version goes to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Deezer, TuneIn, Stitcher, Slacker, iHeartRadio, and much, much more. So this next guest I'm about to bring on, I mean, this guy might be the most talented guest we had on here so far. B-boy, dope MC, part of a couple rock bands, if I'm not mistaken. And let's bring on the one and only Q Unique from the Arsonists. Q Unique, how you doing, man?
How you doing, man?
Did I get that right? You part of a couple rock bands?
Yeah. It's actually an ongoing joke behind the scenes of how many bands and rock projects that I take on. It actually makes me laugh. I'm actually trying to do my best to you know shrink the situation, but I have a lot of fun joining different bands. I don't know what it is, man.
Yeah, I actually got a submission from one of them, the Soul Gun.
Soul Gun, yes sir, yes sir. That's
Yeah,
it's one of my main bands actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to start here. So it says it's something I thought was very interesting. Is it true you were a member of the Rocksteady crew?
Yep, I am. If you ask Crazy Legs right now, I'm the longest member. I have the longest membership. I started the early '90s and haven't left, haven't been kicked out, haven't gotten a clean slip, haven't had a misstep. So yeah, that I am a member of the Rocksteady crew. I've been a member of Zulu Nation. I think that's more of a touchy subject with a lot of hip hop
Okay.
heads, and obviously my main group, the Arsonists, which is more of a family situation now than a music group.
You don't mind me asking, why is it a touchy subject, the Zulu Nation part?
I think the Bambaataa situation has divided the
Oh,
room,
okay. Okay.
and I don't, and, look, I'm not here to dig dirt on Bam, and I'm one of those. Look, we're all aware of all of the darkness in hip hop, whether it's from underground or commercial or whatever is going on. People speak. There's words in the street and all of that. The thing for me is that I'm really not here to fan the flames of drama. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm
Yeah.
just well aware that the room is split. And for me, what I will say about Bam and Zulu is that despite the situation,
Mm-hmm.
Bambaataa and Zulu are, in my opinion, easily one of the most important crews organizations for hip hop history, for the
Yeah.
history of it, for understanding how things got wired. You have to include Bam and Zulu. And unfortunately, because of the situation, people just rip the wiring out and just move
Mm-hmm.
forward with I don't know what kind of version you want to call it, but there's facts missing in hip hop with certain things. Like when I saw the whole 50th anniversary go down,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't see much of a Zulu presence, I knew. I was like, oof.
They were trying to distance themselves from it.
Yeah. So
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on nowadays. The court of public opinion, they're like judge, jury, and executioner. And even if you found not guilty in court, they still,
yeah, it
they still
ruins the
find you
reputation.
guilty.
Yeah, it's a bad stain on the reputation. So
Yeah.
I it's a it's a sad situation, and I just we all got to just move forward and be better people, and that's that.
All right. So I was seeing the arsonist was originally called the Bushwick Bomb Squad.
Yes,
And
sir.
then y'all released the single "The Session" in 1996. It's played at New York radio stations, brought some record label offers. Then you signed with Fondle Records. and then it ended up changing the name to Arsonist. Why did you decide with Fondle? It has something to do with Bobito.
So Bobito and I were friends before I became a member of the Arsonists. I was in a group called
Okay.
the Nomads, and so he would he would show the Nomads love. We would go up there. If you know the format of Stretch and Bob, we would go up there. We would have snap sessions, and he would let us rhyme, and
Okay.
it was like a big brother little brother thing. And when Tony Touch went up with the session on a demo tape, he played it on the air while he was co-hosting the Stretch and Bob show, and the session ended up becoming the most requested song of the year, which
Okay.
we didn't even like. It was nuts. We were like, holy shit. And so Bobito uh, gave it what he called the Butter Award for the year, and then
Okay.
he ended up calling me, and he was like, basically he was like, you guys, I want to put you guys on my, it was a super indie label, and he was like, I want to put you guys the session on my label, Fondle. And so it was a no-brainer for us to be a part of somewhat of the history of the whole Stretch and Bob experience. Is for me, it's like, it's very surreal. And so we didn't sign anything. It was like more of a handshake.
Okay.
The label that we really signed to after Bob, so Bobito put out our first single, MC Search and DJ Eclipse put out our second single, then
Okay.
Bobito put out our third single, and then Matador Records, which was the bigger label, came in after hearing about our reputation and buying the singles. They signed us.
Now, why'd y'all decide to change the name, and whose decision was that?
What do you mean, the Arsonist?
Yeah, from the Bushwick Bomb Squad.
Oh, I believe what had ended up happening was the Bushwick Bomb Squad became something that it started to oversaturate with members, and it started to lose its meaning of what we were supposed to be, which was a crew of MCs. It became more of a bigger crew. And even though the Arsonists still started out as this massive crew, we were like
Yeah.
almost 12 members in the beginning. And
Damn.
so we it was one of those things where we just cleaned up shop, and Kinetic, who was one of the members of the Arsonists, he changed the name from Bushwick Bomb Squad to the Arsonists. I believe it was based off of like Rakim calling himself, I ain't a soloist, I'm an arsonist, which was on Alpha, I think Alpha No Omega, I think one of those songs. And so just ran with that name, and the rest is history.
How did y'all make that work with that many people? Because rappers have some of the biggest egos. It's like every rapper thinks they the best or has to say they the best.
It it was a slow process of evolution. And just to go off of what you said, I think that's what kind of like brought the Arsonists to the end of the story quick, which was
Okay.
right after the Date of Birth album. When the best way to describe when you see big rap groups, for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's being somebody that has dealt in rock now for over 20 about 20 years, is that when you have a lot of rappers in a crew, all you have is a bunch of lead singers. And
Yeah.
so that's why it becomes very difficult to maneuver, because everybody wants their shine.
And they got
And
the same role.
right, and you all have the same roles. So it makes it really tough. I mean, Wu-Tang definitely had the better formula, because what they ended up doing was giving each member their lane to move forward.
Yeah.
And we didn't get we first of all, the thing with the Arsonist was we just didn't fully understand what it was that we had. We were just
Okay.
moving forward like a bullet train, but we just didn't stop to say, wait a minute, what are we looking at here? We got this guy, this guy, this guy, we got this. Those guys over there are doing that with this big group. So Hieroglyphics does this, Wu-Tang does this, that boot camp does this. We didn't
Yeah.
stop to study the room. We just kept on moving forward. We were comparing ourselves to individuals, and not, I feel like we weren't paying attention to the bigger crews, which is what we should have done for do's and don'ts. But what I would say is that at least today, after the dust has settled and we did what we did, which was an extremely beautiful thing. Today, it's more of a family where we check in with each other. We're brothers and check in with each other's families and making sure each one is okay. So we're past the nonsense of industry fueled
Yeah.
beef drama. You know what I mean? Which is an illusion anyway. But so that's the deal.
That's actually good because I had 5 Footer from Black Moon on last week, and it wasn't the same story. I was just like, "You're not cool with none of these guys." He's like, "Nah." I was like, it's sad to see when iconic groups like that just can't figure it out.
It's very sad, and I think the only sad punchline for the Arsonists is that a lot of people will ask, any new music, and
Yeah,
realistically, no. It's just not everybody. Destroy put it best when he and I were speaking. He was like, Q, you're the only guy that's actually adamant and consistent with putting out music. No one else in the crew is. Destroy has found himself in a whole new world. And what he's doing right now up at Sirius XM and with his show Off Your Gems is so beautiful and is so powerful that I could understand him not wanting to even look at the microphone like the
yeah,
way. And the other guys, they're living their lives, good families, and they just change their walk. And for me, I don't I can't explain it. I don't want to say that I love it more or less than anyone else. It's just
yeah.
for me, my passion was just a little more grounded in this path that I'm on. So that's where it's at.
So Kansas City's alternative weekly newspaper, The Pitch, described you as one of the best live bands in hip hop in 2001. Did you guys always have this live band performance, or is this something that came about on the second album?
We never we were I wouldn't say we were a band. We never
Okay.
tried with instruments and stuff.
Okay.
We were just really good live, and
Okay.
I say that humbly. I don't want people to think it's just that our performance got us on tour with the Roots and Public Enemy, and so
Yeah.
it's like you got to understand that we were very serious when it came to stage. We were that's where we actually, when I was saying earlier about we didn't pay attention to this crew or that crew, because our
Yeah.
attention was more based on what are we going to do on stage? What are we going to
Yeah.
do to make the crowd lose their minds? And so that was our focus, was always how are we going to entertain? And because of that mind state, it got us so much great recognition all over the world. And so we would be in Europe and we'd be on BBC Live and things like that. Or we would go to France and they would throw us on the main network on TV because people really, really loved what we did on stage. And it was very important to us. We would rehearse constantly. Not a lot of rap groups think like that. Like, let's go
Yeah.
and rehearse and choreograph our hour-long set. That's how we were. We would book
Yeah.
time at rehearsal studios, run in, have different outfit changes, do wild shit, and it made us this crew that people just loved to watch.
I just want to ask you some questions about some songs because every time I interview guys, I got to go back and listen to old stuff. Then I got to listen to new stuff. So you got this song, "Don't Want to Wake Up,"
Mm,
and it's a song that pays homage to a lot of rappers from back in the days.
yes.
But nowadays, they say people should stop rapping after 35, and they refuse to pay homage for the most part, at least in the mainstream.
Mm.
Where do you think this disconnect came from with the old and the new generation, where we they just look at us like old heads and we just need to, go shut up and off into the sunset or something?
I think this is just my opinion.
All right.
I don't
Yeah.
have the receipts. Here's my opinion. Program directors, radio DJs have to be responsible or accept some of the responsibility for this mind state. And the
Okay.
reason why I say this is because, again, you're talking to somebody that has his foot in rock and in rap. In the rock world, the respect for an elder is high. If
Yeah,
Ozzy
yeah,
Osbourne, no matter how silly Ozzy Osbourne looked on his reality show, if
yeah,
that man walks into a room, you're
yeah,
going to show respect.
yeah,
Period. If Gene Simmons walks into a room, no
yeah,
matter how silly he looked on his reality show, you're going to show him respect. You're going to
yeah,
know his limit. And the thing is, you and I are of a certain age, right? But I've seen kids younger, like kids like 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds show respect to members of Metallica, members of Korn, members. So it's like, now switch that and let's go over to the hip hop side. I've seen people show disrespect to our legends. And so
yeah,
for me, that whole ageism thing, like, oh, you shouldn't know. That's nonsense.
yeah.
That's
I
not
agree.
that's actually how you end up losing. The
Yeah,
thing is, you can't complain about where hip hop is if the foundation of it isn't put together correctly. So what we have to do is start coming together and work. Like for instance, I recently worked with two younger rappers,
mhm.
and they're in the trap world.
Okay,
And so for me, the whole experience, one is Xavier Wolf, and
okay,
the other one is Beta Weta, and
okay.
and they were cool. We were all respectful. Now with Beta, we emailed each other the verses and we got it done and it was dope. With Xavier, me and him sat in the studio together, wrote our rhymes right on the spot. He's a younger cat. I'm an OG, and it's like it was beautiful. It was like there
Yeah,
was no disrespect. And he walked in saying, I know who you are. I know, like he did his homework. And the same
yeah,
for me. I didn't walk in like I'm some OG and I don't need to look. I paid attention. I went to look at what his movement was. I looked at Beta Weeda's movement. I looked at the whole thing and made sure that respectfully, I knew who I was dealing with. And that's how people got to approach it. All of that ego shit, let's put it aside for a second. All of that gloss and illusion and smoke and mirrors, it's like, let's put this aside for a second. This culture, this music has created opportunities for millions of people.
yeah,
And and in order to strengthen it, we got to give it love. We got to nurture it and give it love. If you put a seed in dirt and don't water it and don't do anything for it, it's not going to grow. Eventually, if we don't end up really putting some water to this and nurturing this beautiful hip hop culture, which I don't think it doesn't exist. I think there is love. I just think
mhm.
that it needs to be magnified. And I think that the respect, I think if Rakim walks into the room and somebody like Xavier Wolf uh doesn't have a total idea of who he is, there should be somebody in the middle to break it down. When I went to the NAM with Xavier Wolf, okay?
Mhm.
And Jazzy J was at the NAM. Now, if you don't know who
Yeah.
Jazzy J is, for the people that are watching, Jazzy J is responsible for the very first single on Def Jam.
Okay.
That that's one of his accolades. He has a lot more, but for somebody that's just a casual fan, he's
Yeah.
responsible for uh uh uh, what's the rapper's name? I can't think of his name, but It's Yours, the name of the single, It's Yours. So
Um,
Jazzy J is
uh,
responsible for that. And
yeah.
so Xavier wasn't privy to it, so I had to tell him, but I didn't say it in a mean way. Like I was like, "Yo, that's Jazzy J. That's a king right there." Like DJ, he was in the movie Beat Street, T La Rock, T La Rock. He did the T La Rock joint on Def Jam first single, and so when Xavier saw that and heard that, he went and he approached him with respect. And for me, it was just beautiful to see the youngin and the OG just connect, give each other pound, dap, love, and keep it moving. And that's our responsibility to be like that. Connect the dots.
Yeah.
Bark at people. Don't do that. That doesn't work. That don't when we were kids and your parent or your uncle or somebody in the street scolded you, it didn't teach you anything. You just ended up not liking the vibe. And so how do you think that's gonna work in real life? Oh, you old motherfuckers. Oh, you youngins. It's like, no,
Yeah.
do that. You gotta teach one with love and
And
respect.
a lot of old school heads did shit on some of these artists in this new generation, and they definitely heard it and probably was like, "We ain't fuck with y'all." And plus, it's like they didn't grow up on Rakims. They grew up on Jeezys and Ti's, and
Right.
to them, that's their Rakims and KRS Ones, and
To them, Nas is the
yeah,
old school. To them,
yeah,
Nas is the
yeah,
old,
yeah,
and that's fine. That's fine. I think the word old school needs to be deaded. I think what LL Cool J did by twisting it on Rock the Bells radio and saying, no, don't call it old school. It's classic hip hop.
classic,
That
yeah,
that's smart. That's a
yeah.
smart man. That's the way it should be. If we have classic rock, why can't we have classic hip hop? Those joints are classic. Those, and if you're the business guy and you need to know numbers, a lot of those classic hip hop songs have sold millions of copies, man.
Yeah.
So it's like and they built a foundation that is so strong. We were built on these strong hip hop albums and singles. So people have to know that, recognize that, love it, and respect it. Period.
And that's another thing I've talked with a lot of cats I interviewed is the fact that rock does have the classic rock stations, but hip hop still hasn't said, "Hey,
Well,
we need
Rock
these
the Bells
classic
is
hip
the,
hop
yeah.
stations.
Rock
We
the
need
Bells is the
classic."
only one.
Yeah, the Stony one,
Yeah, that I'm aware of.
and that's satellite radio, right?
Yes, that's on Sirius XM. LL Cool J is the owner. And what's dope is that LL is such a like smart dude. Like he hired Roxanne Shante. He's got Grandmaster Caz up there. He does his own segment. So he's involving the OGs and the
Yeah,
kings and the queens that help build this shit. And so that's important. It's like, see, he gets it. And instead of complaining, he's fixing it and working it and making it look dope, you know? So
yeah. I don't like excuses either. I like solutions.
right. That's how or just anger. Like, why
Yeah,
do I want to hear somebody complaining for? That's boring. It's like, look, either you're gonna fix it or don't have anything to say. There's nothing to say. Tell me about how trap is whack, and then trap dudes tell me how boom bap is old and whack. It's like I don't care about either argument. It's like they're both stupid arguments to me. It's like, how about we don't label anything and just say that there's styles? Boom bap is not old. It's just a style. Trap is a trap style. This style is this style. Radio style is radio style, and whatever have you. I'm obviously I'm mislabeling because to me the labels always never made sense. It's just, look, I roll a certain way, I rhyme a certain way, and these guys rhyme a certain way. And if, like, for me to be able to work with an Xavier Wolf or a Beta Weedo who normally do trap, like
uh huh,
that was dope. And they came to my chamber. They came
yeah.
on into my lane and killed it. They both did. They both killed it.
Well, I've always heard the labels are basically put on there to cause division and put
Yeah.
you in a box.
Yeah. It
I used to,
sucks.
yeah,
That's how but that's crowd control, right? If you can distract people, which is, you could go beyond music. If you can distract people and just throw drama and arguments into the mix, they won't even focus on the
yeah, they'll
important.
fall for it every time.
Yeah. So it's the same
So
with music.
I want to talk about this other song, you Chestnut Checkers, really, really dope song.
Thank
Definitely love the production. Do you think most people in this game of life are playing checkers and not chess?
Yeah, because people want instant gratification. And I was guilty of it, early on in my career, because when you come in to this business or any business, I think any business, if you go into
Mm,
any business as a youngin and you're looking at the people in front of you, right? You're looking at the people in front of you, and all you're seeing is the end result. So
yeah,
if I come in and I'm looking at Nas and he's got platinum plaques, I'm just looking at that, which means I'm not thinking about what it took for him to get that. I'm not thinking about the process that he went through, the journey that he went through to get to where he was at. And so most people just walk in like that, including myself. Now where I'm at, I enjoy the journey. So
yeah,
everything is a very patient, calculated move. I put out one song, I drop a short, I drop a reel, I drop a link, everything. And it's care. Like I don't trip. I don't really trip. I don't pay for boosting or on YouTube and Google. I don't do none of that. I just, let's throw it up, let it do what it does, and we move to the next, and let's enjoy it. And eventually people, and it's, for me, from my life, it's working.
Uh, yeah.
And there are people that are discovering me now that are saying, man, I never heard of you before, you brand new. And that's dope. Fine, cool, I'm brand new, it's all good. So yeah, I feel like even in life, I feel like people prefer to play checkers over chess, because chess implies that you have to think before
Yeah.
you move. You know what I mean? And to me, checkers is more like an impulsive, like, oh, I'm gonna go here. You look a little bit, but you're just trying to get and to the end of the board, you know. So
Yeah, they just reacting.
yes.
So when I was a kid, there was this group called CNC Music Factory. That that
You
was
caught me
really
with that one.
huge.
You caught me with
Really huge. How
that.
did you end up working with them?
Yeah. Crazy Legs is responsible for kickstarting my career. He was my
Okay.
mentor. He was my mentor.
That's dope.
And he got me my first two record deals. So the first record deal was on an independent label, and if you're like a super nerdy hip hop person, you'll know what this label was. It was called Celluloid Records. Grandmaster DST was on it. Africa Bambaataa put out music through them,
Okay.
and so years and years after, Legs got me a little deal on there, and I ended up going to the studio a couple of times. And unfortunately, during the process of me dealing with this label, they folded and didn't even tell the artists, none of the
Oh
artists.
man.
So the first Q Unique single never came out, and it's in some warehouse somewhere that I don't even know. Like, it's
Damn.
gone. And so Legs felt terrible about the situation because he had got me the deal, and then the label folded. So he ends up calling one of his homies, because Legs is like one of those dudes that he's like to me, he's the Rakim of B-boys. And so
Okay.
he's so connected into the industry in a very fascinating way. So he contacts this homie named Duran, who was a writer for CNC and was a member of a group called Trilogy. And he brings Duran to this place that I was working at. Make a long story short, Duran suggests that I go try out for CNC, because at the time Freedom Williams had left. My initial response was, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
which made everybody in the room look at me like I was tripping on acid or something. Because everybody else was looking at it like a business move. They're like, yo,
Yeah.
these dudes is platinum. They winning Grammys and Moon Men.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to be a part of this? And I was the guy that didn't want to be a part of it. So I meet up with the CNC dudes. I write. So the deal was supposed to be that because Freedom had left, they had this contract with some movie company, and they had to fulfill it by giving a song.
Mhm.
So when they brought me on, they asked me to write this song, Keep It Coming, which I co-wrote with Duran, because I didn't understand their formula. I didn't get it.
Mhm.
And so we wrote the song, and it ends up becoming part of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer soundtrack.
Oh shit.
Yes. So when you see the movie, the first voice you hear is Q
Yeah.
Unique's voice, is my voice. But the deal didn't work out. I just kept on bumping heads with one of the members of the group. And it just, look, the way I see it now as a mature person is that they had their lane, they
Yeah.
had their way of doing things. And I was walking in with a boom bap hip hop mentality. And I wanted things to go my way.
Yeah.
And that wasn't going to happen. It
Yeah.
wasn't going to happen. But I was delusional to think that maybe I could get them to, kind of move in my direction, which was never going to happen. They were a dance pop group. And so it just ended quickly. The experience was dope in a sense of teaching me how industry works at such a high level, because
Mhm.
obviously, they were platinum and MTV shit and all of that. So that was dope, that experience. But behind the scenes, bumping heads, and heated debates. All of that shit was nonsense. And eventually I just left that and went back to the underground, right to the Nomads. And then from there became a member of the Arsonists. And that's when I feel like my career had landed in the right place. So
doing my research, I get and see, oh, he's part of a band. I'm like, but let me go check this out. Stillwell. I was impressed. I don't remember what song I listened to first. I was like, whoa, this is really, really good. What can you tell us about this band, Stillwell?
So I get a phone call. There's a clothing company out here called in San Diego, called Tribal Gear,
Okay.
and they've been around for a long time. They're a culture type of brand. When they first started out, they used a lot of hip hop, and then it broke out into other things. But the owner, Bobby Ruiz, he and I have been friends. He used to give the Arsonist gear, and he flew me out to Japan to do shows, and flew the Arsonists out to San Diego to do shows, and so we had this cool relationship. So one day he calls me and he's like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a song with Fieldy, the bass player from Korn?"
Oh,
And funny enough, my
wow.
attitude was like, I didn't even like jump at it. It was more like, yeah, sure. Because it didn't register to me. Like I didn't get it. Like I had the desire to do rock. I just didn't know. I was already overwhelmed by hip hop business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, how do I do that? Because prior to this phone call, Crazy Legs, again, had called me maybe a year before that phone call even happened. And he was like, yo, you should get into doing rock, because he knew where my heart was at. So
Yeah.
I had, prior to Stillwell, I had put together a band to do the Vans Warped Tour that had covered Q Unique songs, but did them in a more rock way. And so
Mhm.
when I did the Vans Warped Tour, it fucking worked perfectly. I had a band behind me, and it was very aggressive, and it was awesome. And so a year after that, Bobby calls. It was weird. It was almost like, whatever you believe in, God, the universe, it was almost like God was like altering my lane, but he threw me on the Vans Warped Tour as like uh, going to grammar school. And then all of a sudden, he shifts my lane and he's like, now you're going to go and record with Fieldy from Korn. You're not going to know what it is, but we're going to put you there. So I fly out to Cali, and Fieldy and I write our first song first day. First day we meet each other, we write our first song. The chemistry was just instant. I can't even explain it, because he and
Mhm.
I come from different planets. We have a different approach, and it just worked. And it was the song Killing Myself to Live, which to me sounds more like a Q Unique song than it does a Stillwell song.
Mhm.
And but what was dope about the experience was when the song was finished, Fieldy flew out to New York because Korn had some uh, award responsibilities and stuff. And so he and I were in a car and we're listening to the song we had just finished. And he was like, "Yo, what's your schedule like? Like, what are you into right now?" And I was like, "Well, I just finished my touring cycle for my first solo album, Vengeance Is Mine.
Mhm.
So I don't have anything on the schedule." And he was like, "You want to come on tour with Korn?" And I was like, "Well, what would we be doing? Like, I don't get it." He was like, "Well, let's just write music. We got like, we'll have the tour bus. I'll hook you up a hotel, all of that." And I was like, "Fuck it." And so that turned into a 17-year journey of me
Damn.
being a fly on the wall, learning at the highest level possible
Yeah. Yeah.
how the machine works. And along the way, they threw me on stage to open up for them as Q Unique, and that was baffling. And then as we molded Stillwell and started to evolve with it, Stillwell ended up opening up for Korn on an arena tour and going to Europe. And so the whole entire experience is just mind-boggling to me. To
Yeah.
maybe to them, it's just them being who they are, as very cool, because they're all my friends. These guys have been loving and caring and encouraging as I evolved, and they never shot me down. It was fascinating, because they didn't have to be the way they were with me. You know, it's
Yeah.
Corn. This is a
Yeah.
band. You know how big they are. So it's like they really had been really cool with me. I was just talking to Jonathan and telling him how he was one of my teachers, and he doesn't see it that way because it was so indirect. You know, when you're watching somebody on stage for 16, 17 years and you're watching technique and professionalism, you're learning. If you're paying attention, you're absorbing this. And so that is how that's kind of like a quick synopsis of how the whole Stillwell thing happened. And then it helped me to evolve even further so that by the time I got into Soul Gun, which used to be called King's Bounty,
Okay.
I was already seasoned. I already understood. I had a better understanding of what it was that I wanted to do. And then all the other band projects came, and it, you know, a lot of the reasons why, because we were joking about it in the beginning, uh, the main reason why I take on a lot of band projects
Uh-huh.
is is for personal growth. It gives me a chance to evolve. When you're jamming with different people, you're getting different vibes and different musicality and different approaches. And so it challenges me to like, all right, how am I going to approach this? It's almost like getting beats from different producers, only you're in the room with these people and they're jamming and they're playing shit. And so that's my personal reason why I take on so many. I need to grow. And so that helps me to grow.
Hey, when I listened to the records, I mean, that was my first time listening to, you as a rock artist. If I didn't know you was an MC too, I would have thought you just been doing the rock thing your whole life. I
Thank you.
mean, you sounded like a natural, man.
Thank
And that's why I was like, whoa, this guy is really talented.
Thank you. It means a great deal. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean, because you're one of the dopest MCs probably out right now still. Because
Thank you.
a lot of, I mean, I love a lot of cats from the '90s era, but even some of those cats lost their edge, lost their touch. Don't really, I guess they didn't sharpen their skills enough. They took a long hiatus, but
I
like,
think I
go
could
ahead.
speak on that. I could speak on that, and respectively, because I'm going to use my own experience. I think
Hmm.
when you hit a crossroad, I think this is this is my opinion. All of us come into this business wanting to win
Yeah,
because there's so many examples of dudes winning.
yeah,
And I believe because I hit the crossroad, when you don't quite hit the mark, you become discouraged and you
okay,
become complacent, and then you start to fall back a little bit. You're like, you start to think like, well, why am I doing this? And you got to, if you don't answer the question, that's scary. I had to answer the question because I was at a crossroad. It's dope that you brought that up. I was at a crossroad recently, and Fieldy from Corn, me and him are talking, and I was like, "Yo, man, I don't know about Q Unique anymore. I don't know, I don't understand what I'm doing." This was a few years ago, and I think I'm gonna put it on ice. I think it's time to close it up. And he was like, "Nah, no, absolutely not." He was like, "Look, what you do in rock is great,
yeah,
and we love it, and it's fun, and it's awesome. But what you do as Q Unique is powerful and important, and it's your legacy. And so, whatever it is that's bothering you, you got to be honest. Whatever it is, be honest about it, and then fix it, and then move forward, because that's your legacy." And that speech
yeah,
changed everything. The next day, I was like trying to figure out, okay, I gotta, because my problem was after a while, I was just going through the motions without thinking. And a large part I blame on was me going along with that whole mixtape era. Like, oh, I got to do a mixtape. And it's like, for me, for the way I'm wired, I should have never been a part of that. It's just,
hmm,
it wasn't for me. That was never my intention, was just to chuck out a bunch of subpar shit. And so the first thing I did was Eclipse and Ill Bill. They pointed me to a record label, and um, the record label helped to clean up my catalog with me. And so it was, that was the most vital movement for me, was to go back, listen to everything that I did, pull down what I just no longer could co-sign, agree with, or anything, and then reproduce and reimagine and rewrite the things that kind of had potential, fix it and put it up, look at my catalog now and say, that is what satisfies me. I am good with this. Now we can move forward. And so that's why these new songs like It's Not Over and Let's Go Vamonos Andiamo, you can hear a more reinvigorated Q Unique, because I was able to hit the crossroad, have a homie tell me, nah, son, you got to figure that out, and help me move forward and really, really fix my catalog and my walk. And that was the difference for me, because I could have been like those other rappers that you might be thinking about. I
Yeah.
could have fell flat and just kept on chucking out the same old shit, but nah, I knew in my heart that I had to fix it after Fielder gave me the speech.
So that's the motivation of the It's Not Over track, which is
Yes,
like your latest joint? Yeah.
yes, he, I just, even though the verses are a little more on the random thought and just throwing out some cool lines, the hook was meant to take his conversation with me and just let people know it's not over. I'm overqualified, overlooked, overzealous, undercooked. I,
Yeah.
slow to cook, excuse me, slow to cook. I could go over the top, but it's not over. I could go over the top, but it's
Top,
not
but
over. So it's like I'm letting people know that's where I'm at now. You know, I'm feeling where I'm at now, and I'm ready to move forward. And right now I'm dealing with Viper Records, and they've been beautiful. So it's like, you know, here we are, man. Here we are.
Yeah,
I'm feeling
I
good.
like that It's Not Over. Somebody sent it to me to review on my Saturday reviews, and I definitely
Oh,
gave it a
oh,
yay.
thank
I,
you.
I love the production. I love the flow, the hook, everything. And you said the name earlier, Ill Bill. That's where I kind of get the feeling of when I listen to you as an MC, is that nonfiction kind of, you know, feel and whatnot.
I,
Nonfiction is definitely one of my favorites of all time, man. I think their first album is one of the most probably overlooked and underrated albums ever. And it,
Ill to me is top 10. I think because of me, it's not even bias. Like just
yeah,
as a person that knows rhyme structure,
yeah,
uh,
he's dope.
I just think that people kind of like, you know, if it doesn't hit the radar, people don't do the homework and they're lazy. To me, just analyzing his stuff, and you got to understand the reason why there was an upgrade from Q Unique of the Arsonist to Q Unique the Soloist is
Mm,
because of Ill Bill, like you mentioned. It's because like for instance, I love MMA, right? And sometimes these fighters, they'll go and train with just train with other
mhm,
fighters just to
yeah,
get a different edge, just to get a different look, just to get a different angle. And so when what people don't realize is that Ill Bill was the executive producer to my first solo album. I was on
okay,
Uncle Howie Records. But what was dope about that, it wasn't that he just put up the money and then just, you know, went to go hang out. Yo, he was with me every single session for that album. And so in that process, I'm basically training with Bill because he's playing the
yeah,
Rick Rubin role. I'm
yeah,
playing the Q Unique role. And so he's fine tuning certain things that I'm not catching. And then all of a sudden, take the training wheels off and I'm on automatic pilot because now my style has been adjusted. And even now, it's evolved even more. Where if you listen to like It's Not Over and then rewind back into the catalog, you could tell that I'm still evolving. I'm still
yeah.
stretching and finding my place in this whole thing. So Ill Bill is definitely, along with Arsonist members, Ill Bill, Gore-Tex, Sabak, those all of these people have helped me evolve. Period.
So you said you're a fan of the MMA. Do you watch the bare knuckle?
I don't watch the bare knuckle as much. I'll catch the highlights on that. I'm more of a UFC
Which
like.
one do you watch from bare knuckle if you do?
I like homie. What's he's man Perry, Mike Perry.
Oh, you like Mike Perry? Yeah, that's BKFC. I actually on my other podcast, I interview all those bare knuckle fighters, man.
Oh, okay. See, I'm not as familiar as I am with just straight up like UFC, uh, uh, you know, all of the other companies that have came and went, one, the one championship. So I'm more in tune with that. The bare knuckle stuff I haven't been on top of as much. So I've been primarily a UFC fan overall.
I don't know if you got Amazon Prime, but if you do, next time they have a fight on Amazon Prime, I'll send you a link. They got Chris Lytle as one of their commentators. I know you're familiar with Chris Lytle, right?
Yes. So I would
And they,
definitely, send me a link
yeah,
for sure. I'll definitely check it out.
and
Definitely
they
check
recently had Houston Alexander, which I interviewed, but
it.
he done hit 50 years old, so they kind of, you know how they be when they get to that age, they kind of keep him from fighting and stuff. And
Yeah, it's dangerous. It gets dangerous, man. You know, I used to train. I trained for a long time, and even my teachers, like I've trained when I was in the Nomads. I trained under World Championship Jerry Fast Feet Fontanez, but he was more like point fighting, championship, karate
okay,
championship, and when he and I would build, he would say things like, even in training, because I ended up going from him to training under Shihan Jean Dunn with jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and Muay Thai. And when my first teacher had heard that I was doing Muay Thai, he was like, yo, even in training, that shit will break you eventually. It's rough on the body. So imagine a professional MMA fighter who's at percentages that when we go to a dojo, we're not trying to hit 50%, 100% when we're training.
yeah.
I mean, we're just training. An MMA fighter is a little different. You gotta turn it up a notch. You know what I mean? So I've been fortunate to hang with dudes like Nate Diaz, Nick Diaz, and ask them questions about it. And I remember Nate telling me, most MMA fighters physically are not at 100%. They're broken, bad
Yeah.
shoulder, bad ankles, bad wrists, bad elbow, bad knee, but they have to keep moving because that's the food. That's how you put food on your plate. So
And they love that shit, man. Even when they can lose 4 straight fights and they
yeah,
still love it.
yeah. I mean, to me, I have this line in a rhyme where I say, I'm like Nate Diaz. Even when I lose, I win, because that to me, that dude can lose whatever he wants, but people love him so much it
Yeah.
doesn't even matter. Shit don't matter. He's dope.
So I got a couple more questions before we hit this hour mark, and then we're gonna let you do some shout outs. So how do you feel like hip hop is positioned moving forward? Do you feel like hip hop is in a good spot or a bad spot?
I think it's in you know, it's a tough question to answer because the industry overall is in such a strange place.
It is.
You
It
know,
is.
people are concerned about streams and
Yeah.
money and how to promote a song these days. You gotta do a lot to promote a song these days, as in comparison to when Arsonists put out our first song. We would hire a team, a street team, and they'd go out and put up
Yeah.
posters. Sticker. Now you got to do shorts and reels and content and content.
Yeah.
So it's that's to me where the difference is, and that's when you start to see people start to fall off. Not that I'm being mean. It's just the responsibility of being a recording artist, no matter what genre you're in, is high. And
Yeah.
so whenever people ask me, I've recently had somebody ask me, what could I do to have, a career? And the first word out of my mouth is commitment. If you can't commit to
Yeah.
an agenda, I don't care how dope you are, it ain't gonna work. You have to commit in some way, shape, or form. Like for me, when I started working with Viper in particular, Dove, who she is a YouTube expert and stuff like that, she made me realize the level of commitment that I had to put in just to maintain, just to
Yeah.
keep the train rolling forward. Never
Yeah.
mind trying to hit a certain crazy mark or go viral. I'm not even thinking like that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
to keep the train on the track. Like
Yeah.
all of these shorts and reels and things that I'm doing are so foreign to me, but now I'm in a groove where it's like I'm committed.
Yeah.
So when you say, can hip hop, it's all based on commitment levels and who's down for it. So it's like, how many people in my lane, in my swimming pool, from what you would call the boom bap or whatever style you want to call it. How many of them are really going to be committed to doing things like that?
Not a
Because
lot.
no, a lot of them don't like it. They
Yeah,
don't
they
like it.
don't.
I feel it. I get you. But for me, I had to get past my feeling for me personally because I felt like I needed to play catch up, even with
Mhm.
my colleagues, that I was like, I have to do this. This is who I am. So I want to do this. And if this is a piece of the puzzle, I'm down. So as long as there's a guy like me is still in the swimming pool, still swimming forward, I feel like we're all good. It's just now that I have to get
Yeah,
more and more people to recognize my presence. And therefore it helps. If you love our style of hip hop, that boom bap shit, then it's up to me and people like me to continue to put that level of commitment. And even more so, like I feel like I'm still not doing enough. I'm still not doing
yeah,
enough. So that's what I feel about Can Hip Hop's about. It's all based on people's getting past the angry vibe of that sucks, trap sucks. This get past that.
yeah,
That's childish and that's a distraction. What are you doing? Just like you said, you said it was dope. You were like, I don't want to hear complaining. You got a solution. So to
yeah,
me, it's like, what are you doing to help our lane of hip hop? Are you moving forward? Are you making things dope? Are you putting out quality stuff? Are you feeding that commitment level of letting people know that you're in the room? Are you doing it? Because if you're not, then I don't want to hear you complain, homie. I don't want to hear it. If you're not making an effort, if you're not killing it, then what is there? Look at Nems. Look at the effort that
yeah,
dude is putting in. He's killing it. Killing it. And I remember when he had one foot in the grave, I was standing next to him on tour,
yeah,
watching him slowly die. You know what I mean? And to see him turn it around and still be a real hip hop head. Come on, man. Look at his commitment. Look at all the things he does. He deserves it because he puts the work in. That's what it's about. So, to answer your question, hip hop, especially this lane, this swimming pool that we're in, the
yeah,
hip hop that we love, it could survive and it could be beautiful if everybody put in Nem's type of commitment, in my
yeah.
opinion.
Because I've researched and looked up all types of rappers from the 80s and the 90s. There's a lot that you can't even find on social media
Nope.
whatsoever. No Facebook, no Instagram. And I think, when I first started dealing with cats from the 90s era was MySpace. And when it was
There you
just
go.
one platform, it was a lot easier for guys. And back then, like I could message Diamond D, and Diamond D would message back with a phone number. You know what I'm saying? But
Hmm.
once it started, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and everything started coming out, you just saw less and less content creating and work being done on that aspect because there's so much to do, and it was
Overwhelming.
harder to get in touch with cats after
Yeah.
that.
It's overwhelming. Even for somebody like me that I don't put in as much effort as Nems. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't match him. But it's overwhelming. And I put in work, but even I could admit it. And I'm committed to it. Like I want to
yeah,
do this. But just like you said, when you look at all the social apps and new ones popping up every 10
yep.
minutes, you're like, this is overwhelming. It's very
It's a
overwhelming.
job even when you ain't getting paid to do it.
Exactly. So that's to me, that is what's going to save it. Is not that it's losing anything, but I feel like you have to look, even somebody like West Side Gun, who I consider a youngin in the boom bap, real hip hop pool. Look at the effort that kid puts in. So
Yeah,
he deserves the spotlight. He's
yeah.
constantly in everybody's face, constantly. I don't care if you love him or hate him. That to me, that doesn't matter. That's all illusion stuff. To me, when I look at West Side Gun, when I look at Griselda and the work that they put in, salute. You did it. He understood. He knew he had to wake up and put work in. Period. Period.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that actually thought that said Conway might have been the I guess the hardest working rapper and probably some of the best music in the last decade.
There you go. And so that's That's your mentality. It's like anybody in the middle, like standing in the middle of the road complaining, they're just wasting time because nobody really cares. There's so many opinions on social media. What makes you think anybody cares about my opinion or your opinion, Mr. Rapper, or your opinion, Mrs. Rapper? Nobody cares. They'll read it, they'll make their little comment, and then they'll move on to the little cat and dog videos that they love so much. Or a fist fight video in the street. It's like it's
Yeah.
such a thing that don't waste your time with that. Just get into your work and into your craft, into your passion. No matter what you, for me, it's my passion. For some people, it's work. For some people, it's whatever. But for me, I have to. This is my passion. This is my love. So I have to. I have to. It feeds my soul and keeps me. It keeps me in the room mentally. I think that if I would have, when I told you, when I hit that crossroad, if I would have fed into that, and if I would have
Uh-huh.
quit, I'd have been a miserable person. Would have been miserable.
So I got another question. I think you're the perfect guy to answer this. So do you think like and let's just talk with a scenario here. We say me and you we got a label.
Hmm.
We sign a rock band and a hip hop group. Which one do you think is going to be easier for us to start generating revenue earlier?
See, you're asking the perfect question because Viper Records signed me as a rapper and a
Mhm.
rocker. They gave me two separate deals. So you're
Okay.
talking to somebody that's actually experiencing it. Here's what I'll tell you. You need connect. You need to be connected to the systems. They're two separate systems. In
Mhm.
what the question you're asking me is two separate systems. There's the rock system and the rap system.
Mhm.
In the case that I'm in, it's obvious that my resume in rap helps a lot, and that the label itself is more predominantly a rap label. It's a music label, but they've
Mhm.
had a lot of success in hip hop with Immortal Technique and all the
Okay.
artists they put out. And so to me, if you're not plugged in to the rock system in a way where you can move and put your artist in certain lights, it's going to be a little harder. So
Okay.
there's no way to there's no way to gauge it unless you have the connects. So if you're that guy that could walk in and have dope connects in the rock world and then come out and then have dope connects in the rap world, then you're going to have success across the board. But if one way outweighs the other, one is going to struggle a little bit because good music just won't survive on its own. You
Yeah, you're
need
right.
you need the plugs, man. You need the
Yeah.
connects. You need the spectacle. You need all of that. I don't care how dope you are.
Yeah.
There's dope dudes in the street that could outplay anyone on guitar or sing or whatever. And because they're just not connected to the system, no, there ain't nothing's gonna happen. You have to be plugged into the system. You have to go through the system. That's just the way it is. For now, it will change, but for now, that's where it is.
So you're saying it's harder to make it in rock?
I think it's just harder to make it in either if you're not connected. So
Okay.
to me, if you're nice, a dope MC, and that's all you are, like somebody sent me a demo of this kid recently, and he was dope. And but my response was, he's dope, but I looked at his Instagram numbers and all of that, and homie's got a lot of work to do because that dope shit, it just think about how many dope MCs are on the planet right now.
Yeah.
Across the globe, never
Yeah.
mind
Yeah. Nah. Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've been in situations where I've been in Europe and listened to some of the best French rappers in the world, and they're nasty. And they have more followers than some of the American rappers in here over here. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like if you ain't plugged in, homie, I don't care if you're dope in country music, but if you're not in the system and you don't
Yeah.
know people, it ain't gonna work. It's gonna be rough. It's
I
gonna
always
be
thought it was easier for rock because I thought like
it's
I've
a
always
bullshit.
heard that you could just start a cover band and probably
Nah,
get shows instantly.
nah. You got to
Cats
be
still do that?
cats still do that, but even with that, you still have to be connected to the system. Like,
Yeah.
let's say I have a cover band if I'm not connected to somebody that's going to put us on stage or allow or help us to travel, what good is
Yeah.
my cover band? I've jammed, like you mentioned, like I got a lot of bands, right? I've
Yeah.
jammed with some talented musicians. If I said their names, you'd be like, who? Because they're not in the system. They're
Yeah.
not in the system. I'm struggling, and you just seem to like, oh, that's Stillwell shit. Yeah, it Stillwell is my love. Like that's one of the first bands that I put together, right? But I'm not. It's not on the level of Metallica or Korn or Pearl, and not Pearl Jam or Alice. It's not on any of those levels, and so that's a struggle. But even with Q Unique, like now we go over to the Q Unique side. Yes, I have a crazy resume with Q Unique. Yes, I have albums that have streamed in the millions. I got all of that, but I'm not sitting next to Nas. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not having lunch with Jay-Z. So it's like I'm still kind of like in that place where it could go either way. So I've seen success, but not the type of success that you and I would look at and be like, whoa, did you see that Kendrick Lamar? Like, for instance, Kendrick Lamar just did, this is a true story. Kendrick Lamar just did a show in Texas,
Uh-huh.
and it grossed $11.5 million.
I heard that. He just beat Eminem's record, right?
That is, so I'm not even nowhere close to that level.
Yeah.
So it's like, where how do you measure? Do I want that kind of success? I'd be a fool to say no. Of course I do. If you and I went to law school and became lawyers, we're going to want to work for the best law firm, aren't we? Yes, of course. You think I want to have my own practice and struggle in the hood? No. I want to be a part of the best law firm in the world and be successful. That's how I think. So when it comes to my career as a musician, that's how I look at it. I've studied, I've
Yeah.
learned, I've evolved. I want to be a part of the best situations in music. And so I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't gotten there yet.
So
And
you
so
made me think of something though
uh,
when you brought up Kendrick, because I've always said that, like, Kendrick, to me, Kendrick and Cole have been considered top 10, I mean, top three for the last, I guess you say 10 or 15 years.
mhm.
But as big as they are, why don't labels go searching for more Kendricks and more Coles? And they just seem to be searching for more little babies and little the babies and little yachties. And
I
as
think
much money as he's making, why are we not trying to find, why is the label like, we need to find another Kendrick?
because I think most artists have come to a place, and I say this respectively because I don't have a problem with record labels. I don't. But
Yeah.
most artists have come to the conclusion that they don't need labels. And so labels have scaled back on their intention. So
Okay.
instead of discovering an artist, nurturing the artist, teaching the artist, breaking the artist, they just sit back and, oh,
Sign a guy who's
little
established.
yeah, little so and so got 2 million followers. He's streaming this much. Let's give him some
Sign
money.
him. Yeah.
Job done. They already did the work for us. So that's why. And so when I think of myself, when I think of Ill Bill, when I think of Vinny Paz, when I think of Esoteric, uh, Lord Goat, Sabat, Necro, all of the dudes that I know, Mr. Hyde. Do I think we could be as successful as those like some of these names you're throwing? Of course I do. Of course I do. And it's not even a bias thing. I just know everybody's work ethic, whether I'm in the room with them or not. I just know everybody's skill level, whether I'm in the room with them or not. And comparable. Like I could say every name I just said, I could compare them to who's out there successfully and tell you who's better or who's worse or whatever. It doesn't even matter. But knowing that I could compare and still think that, yeah, I believe Ill Bill could be as big as a Nas or anything. He just hasn't been given those kind of opportunities.
Yeah.
So I know it sounds crazy. It's kind of hard for me to go over it in detail. It would take a long time for me to make people understand my theory. I just feel like, everybody has to travel a certain road to get to wherever they're going to go. Look at Destroy. Destroy went from doing stuff with Tony Touch to the Arsonists to touring with Mary Ben Ari to doing stuff with the NFL and all of that, to
Damn.
now he's one of the hottest dudes on the radio. He's chilling now, in my
Yeah.
opinion. He's good. He's killing it. Killing it. People love that guy. And I'm talking like celebrities love that guy. Like I could tell you stories where it's like when he calls me and he tells me these stories, I'm blown away because this is a dude that I recorded music with, went on tour with. So if he can do it, any of those names that I said could do it too. It's just where's that opportunity? What is the road that we have to take and where are we going to end up? So for me, what I did personally was I put my feet in two different genres that I believe I could do,
That's smart.
and let's see what comes of it. Let's see what happens.
Well, before we let you go, man, any shout outs you want to do?
I mean, I shouted out so many people
Yeah.
in the interview itself, but love and respect to everybody that I mentioned, from my brothers in Corn, Nonfiction, Rocksteady, my Arsonist brothers, you know, all of the hip hop heads that I come across, from Xavier Wolf, Beta Weeda, DJ Five Venoms, DJ Eclipse. Man, the list can go on and on. I just feel like if you know me in this game, whether you in the rock side of my life, the hip hop side of my life, just know that there's love and respect there. There's no drama here. And I wish everyone health and success. That's where I'm at right now. I wish everyone health and success, period.
Well, I want to shout you out. You're a friend of the show now. Anytime you get new music, please send it over. I'll review it on Saturdays.
Thank you.
Anytime you want to come back on, this is actually probably one of the more interesting interviews I've done.
Thank you, man. Thank
And
you.
I've interviewed a lot of cats, a lot of Brooklyn cats. I mean, I've been interviewed DBA Liz
Brooklyn,
Christ, Smooth the
back.
Hustler, Supreme the Elohim, Illa G. The list goes on, man. A lot of Brooklyn cats on this show, man.
Yes, sir.
We definitely love Brooklyn, and Brooklyn loves us.
There's something in the water in Brooklyn, homie.
Yeah.
Brooklyn is that's my heart, my soul, my blood. You know, born and raised Brooklyn. Period.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you, man. Like I said, I'm gonna keep in touch, man. Anytime you want to come back on, you got a new single or something, I'm with it.
Thank you very much. And for those that need to just reach out, just hit up qunique.com, q-unique.com. It's got everything on there, all my socials, all the latest. Got the new single out, Let's Go Vámonos Andiamo, which I think I've done a little homework. I haven't done a great deal of homework, but I believe I'm the first to ever do a trilingual rap song where I'm rapping in English, Spanish, and Italian because I'm Puerto Rican and Italian. So I did that to pay homage to my families, both sides of my family. And that's out currently right now.
Yeah, you might be right on. I never heard of nobody rapping in 3 different languages.
I'm sure that there's been collaborations where there's a rapper,
yeah.
English, but I'm doing it all myself on this.
Yeah, I did a song with some German guys back in the days, and I did like a verse and a hook, and they liked the hook so much they actually did a whole nother remix with nothing but the German guys.
That's for
rapping.
sure.
I didn't know what they were saying, but long as they wasn't dissing me, we was good.
Right. And it sounds cool, right?
Yeah.
So that's the latest joint, and we got the official video dropping in a couple of weeks, and tomorrow I'm dropping a brand new. So my main solo rock stuff is a thing called Mother Fuzz, and I'm dropping a cover song tomorrow that I did. I covered Suicidal Tendencies, Subliminal. So that's dropping tomorrow, only on Bandcamp and YouTube. Keeping it simple.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, appreciate you taking the time out, man. Enjoy the rest of your night. Like I said, you're a friend of the show, man.
Thank you, brother.
All
and
right.
thank
Peace.
you for getting at me.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Peace. Really interesting interview. Damn, he dropped a lot of names in there, man. A lot of names. I mean, he toured with Korn. Said Crazy Legs pretty much helped him get on. Signed with a label, a handshake with a label that Bobito was running. Was on Uncle Howie Records. Ill Bill produced his first album. I'm a diehard Ill Bill fan. I love Ill Bill. Ill Bill Apathy. Yeah, Q Unique's probably one of the most and he was part of the Rocksteady crew, one of the longest members of the Rocksteady crew. You know, if you're looking for real hip hop, you're looking for somebody who digs in the crates for their interviews and brings on artists that might be forgotten right now or overlooked or not appreciated as much. I'm your go-to, man. We had 5 Footer from Black Moon on last week. I got Reef Hustle tomorrow, and supposedly he was found originally by Big Pun. You know, so yeah, man, that's how we do, man. We're digging in the crates for interviews, hitting a lot of cats up from the 80s and 90s, and you know, let them come get on here and tell their stories, man, and just break down the timeline and you know, just get their knowledge of the game and just the ins and the outs of it. Chris Porterfield, appreciate you tuning in, man. I thought it was a good interview too. Really, really like Q Unique, really nice guy. Had a lot of interesting things to say. Don't forget to go check out the 5 Footer from Black Moon interview we did last week. And tomorrow, like I said, I got Reef Hustle. Saturday, we got live music reviews. You can submit to livefromfayettenam@gmail.com. Don't forget, I go live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Audio version will go to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Deezer, TuneIn, Stitcher, Slacker, iHeartRadio, Player FM, and much, much more. Also, check out the Paul Pickett podcast. I just did a few interviews last week. We had Steve Panda Banks. We had Anthony Yost. And we did Chachi Versace. And we did William Wild Bill Albrecht, who actually fought Sean Strickland back in the days as well. So make sure y'all go follow the Paul Pickett podcast. Make sure y'all follow Live from Fayettenam. Also on Instagram, TikTok, all the good stuff, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in. And I will be live tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So tune in for that as well, where I'll be interviewing Reef Hustle. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Peace, and I'm out.